I was looking for a fresh start. That's how I ended up in this small town, renting a cheap apartment at the edge of the woods. It wasn't much, just a one-bedroom place with outdated appliances and a strange smell that never quite went away. But it was mine, and that was enough. The first night was uneventful. I unpacked, made a frozen dinner, and watched a movie before heading to bed. But around 2 a.m., I woke up to the sound of something tapping on my window. 3 slow, deliberate knocks. My heart pounded as I turned on my bedside lamp and peered through the blinds. Nothing, just the dark, endless stretch of trees outside. I told myself it was just a branch or maybe an animal. But the next night, it happened again. 3 knocks, perfectly spaced. I checked the window immediately, but once again, there was nothing there. By the 3rd night, I was starting to feel like I was losing it. I stayed up late, determined to catch whatever was causing the sound. I sat in bed, staring at the window, waiting. And right on schedule, knock, knock, knock. This time, I sprang up and yanked the blinds open. The sight made my blood run cold. A man was standing just outside, inches from the glass. His face was gaunt, hollow eyes staring right at me. But the worst part? His mouth was hanging open, like he was silently screaming. I stumbled backward, scrambling for my phone, but when I looked back up, he was gone. Just vanished. I barely slept that night. The next morning, I asked my landlord if there had been any break-ins before. He gave me an odd look before shaking his head. "Not in a long time," he said. When I pressed him for more, he hesitated. Then, in a quiet voice, he said, "You're in apartment 6, right?" I nodded. He sighed. "A man lived there before you, kept to himself. No family. One night, the neighbors heard knocking. They checked on him the next morning. He was dead. Heart attack, they think. But the weird thing is, the coroner estimated he'd been dead for hours before the knocking was heard." A chill ran down my spine. I wanted to believe it was just a coincidence, but deep down I knew better. That night I locked every door, shut every window, and left the lights on. But at exactly 2 a.m., knock, knock, knock. This time I didn't check. I pulled the covers over my head and forced myself to stay still. The knocking didn't stop. It grew louder, more insistent. It sounded like it was coming from inside the apartment now, just as I was about to scream. It stopped. I lay there, frozen, until the first light of dawn. When I finally got up, I hesitated before checking the window. Slowly, I pulled back the blinds. And there, pressed against the glass, was a perfect imprint of a face. A face with hollow eyes and an open, screaming mouth. I moved out that morning, never looked back, and I never ever check my windows after dark.